Hello, I am Karstan Bock.
And I'm Susan Atkins, his piano teacher.
Today we are going to be presenting a solution to a very current issue. Are your students addicted to screens? How can we turn their love of technology into music theory success? My idea uses the competitive nature of your students to enhance their music theory skills. So thank you for listening. Before we begin about how this solution can help your students, I feel like it would be helpful for you to know a little bit more about me. So hang with me as I tell you a little bit about myself. I am a member of the Marching Dolphins, the advanced concert band, and the jazz ensemble at my school. I play the alto saxophone for these groups with the occasional soprano saxophone. And I also play piano, but that's not related to these groups. I am also the founder, CEO, creator, and website designer of a company that I've created. And this company is what I'll be sharing with you today. This company is licensed and registered in the state of Virginia, and the copyright information is currently held in the Library of Congress. So let me tell you a little bit about how I got on the path of owning such a company. So hang with me as I enhance your schema. I am a freshman at Ocean Lakes Math and Science Academy, the logo of which you can see on the screen. Well, as you can also see on the screen, I have a brother, and this brother is named Caden in the bottom left-hand photo. Caden is currently a senior at Ocean Lakes High School with me. And being his younger brother, I've always been able to watch him receive many different awards and have many different accomplishments. For instance, Caden was selected to be drum major for our school for both his junior and senior year. In addition, he was accepted early decision into the Pratt School of Engineering at Duke University. Now, while all of these may be major awards, they're not exactly the one award that has stood out to me the most throughout my time with him. There is one award that not only changed the course of his life, but also the course of mine. You see, whenever I was in 5th grade, he was in 8th grade, and he had been developing robots for these competitions all throughout middle school, and he was fairly good at it. In 6th grade, he was able to take home the 2nd place trophy, and in 8th grade, he was even able to take 1st place and get the big trophy. Seriously, this trophy was taller than he was, and at the time, he was 6'4", and he still is 6'4". Well, at that award ceremony, I wondered how that must feel. I wondered how it must feel to work really hard for something all year and then end up earning a trophy that was bigger than you. Well, that changed my life, and I decided that I could get a trophy as well. So the very next year, whenever I started attending middle school in 6th grade, the first thing that I did was sign up for the Cyber Innovation Challenge, which was the same competition just with a different flavor. I quickly found out that for this challenge, we had to meet an unmet or undermet need in education. And at the time, I recalled hearing that the United States did not perform very well in mathematics. So I did a little bit of research, and I have to be honest with you, the results that I found horrified me. Now, I'm going to give you a bunch of information, and I'm going to move through this part of the story quickly, as it's not very important for our subject today. However, if you would ever like to follow up on some of the research I have found, there are brochures that you can access online, and there's more research on the website itself. So just to start off with some basic facts, the United States performed well over the average in reading, however, we performed well under the average in mathematics. Now, I love math and I love learning, so I started looking for a reason on why this might be this way. And in my research, I came across two very powerful, thought-provoking statements. The first of which was that algebra is known as the gatekeeper subject. This means that almost every higher-paying profession required algebra, or any college or university program. Now, are you ready for the second most powerful statement? Guess what the most failed course in both high school and college was? Algebra, of course. It seemed to me that there was a huge breakdown where algebra was concerned, and so I decided to research this further. And I came across one last study conducted by Johns Hopkins, stating that math fact fluency was a huge contributor to why students would perform badly in algebra. They went on to explain how students would get bogged down trying to solve simple equations, and that would hinder their ability to solve complex ones. The conclusion of this study made sense to me, and I decided that it was not math specific. In almost every task in life, you need basic skills in order to complete it at a higher level. For instance, in music, if you do not know the notes to the song, then you're not going to have a great performance. Additionally, in my mind, this was similar to a computer that had too many tabs open. Because whenever a computer has too many tabs open, it slows down and it eventually crashes from having to run all of those threads. And this was similar to a student because if they were having to think about all of the different simple equations in a complex equation, then they would slow down and eventually they would get frustrated and quit. I decided that fact fluency was the problem that I could address. And it was funny because as soon as I had decided on an idea, I remembered that one time I had a very unique idea. And this idea was to make learning more like video games. In my idea, students would pick a team to play for in a manner similar to the ones shown on the screen. And they would compete for medals. They would be virtual, of course. But students would earn points for their team by answering math fact fluency questions. And these questions would increase with the difficulty of the questions. In order to increase the difficulty, every student would start an addition, be given 5 questions, and then they would move on to higher levels. However, there would be no time limit, so students could use paper and pencil to figure out answers. Additionally, there would be no penalty besides having to restart if a student missed a question, because I wanted everyone from kindergartners to senior citizens to be able to play, regardless of their skill level. Originally, I thought I could make this idea, and I could call it the Math Olympics. I had some conversations with teachers and parents and students even about my idea, and everyone that I told my idea to, they all seemed to really like it. In fact, many of my teachers said things like, I wish I had something like that for music theory or for English or for French even. And I realized that I could add in different subjects later on. And so instead of being the Math Olympics, I would call my idea Olympics or Academics Olympic style. However, for this competition, I would just focus in on math. But I was still excited because I knew that my idea could still help others through gamification. I went through the Virginia Department of Education topics and standards in math education to prepare for this big cyber competition day throughout the year, getting as much content as I possibly could. Well, at long last, the cyber competition day came, and I just knew I was going to get that big trophy. During the day, I was able to talk to the superintendent of the Virginia Beach City Public Schools, Dr. Spence, and I told him about my idea. And he said, Karstan, I love your idea. How do I get this working in my schools? I told him I wasn't really sure because the way we had formatted for the competition was not in his best interest. However, I told him I would think about it. Later on in that day, I presented my idea to the judges. There I am. I just knew that they were going to give me that big trophy because they all seemed to really like my idea. They said that it was very unique. However, I ended up taking 3rd place. Look at my trophy. You can't even see it compared to Cadence. Well, a few days later, I was still very disappointed about this. And that's about the time that my brain began to replay conversations. It started replaying the conversations with Dr. Spence and with all of my teachers, where they said that I had a good idea and that they wished that they had something like it. So I decided that I still had a good idea and that I could still help people. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I would work on a website. Now, the reason I chose a website was that it was universally accessible to everyone. Everyone that had a computer and an internet could log on and they could answer questions to learn. Now, I didn't know how one built a website, but I just knew I could learn. And I wish I could say all of that work was very easy, but in truth, it was very difficult, and it still can be difficult. I mean, sometimes I thought I could fix a question really quick, and it would end up taking me over 3 hours. However, at long last, on November 24th, 2017, I was finally able to publish Olympics. I was so excited when only 100 games were played. Even though I knew it was probably just my mom playing them, I was still very excited. And then I kept working on the subject of math until I had well over 60,000 questions written. And then I started to think of all of those other subjects and other categories that could benefit from gamification. Now, by this point, I'm sure you're probably thinking, gee, that sure is neat, but how does this apply to music theory? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Personally, I take a music theory test at ODU every year, and there is nothing really out there to help students study for it other than some practice tests and some worksheets or practice books. So I spent more hours than I could count going through the VMTA syllabus, making sure that I had everything that I could find on the syllabuses. I had everything from the primer level, very basic questions such as this note, a line, or a space note, to something a little bit more challenging with intermediate questions of terms and stuff like that. And then lastly, advanced questions. And these would have auditory examples, similar to the one shown. I worked with my piano teacher to record these. One of the key concepts that makes my website so successful is gamification. Now, I won't go into much detail about it here because you can always find resources on my website that explain this concept. But essentially, students are motivated by games on Accolympics and the instantaneous feedback they get for answering questions correctly or incorrectly. So just keep that in mind. Now, as of today, Accolympics is very successful. Over 40 teams use Accolympics regularly, and they're not located just in Virginia Beach. They're also located in Michigan, Arizona, New Hampshire, California, Haiti, and even as far as London. Over 80,000 games have been played and over 1.3 million questions have been answered. Well, I've talked for a while now, so let's play. Ms. Atkins and I are going to demo how you can use Accolympics for both the student and for the teacher. And if you have any questions, we'll show you where you can send questions so that we can answer them. Let's begin.
Well, the brilliant thing about Accolympics is that you can go to the homepage and start playing right away. Although I will say your experience will be much better if you register. But let's just play a game. So we're on the homepage now. You choose a team and you choose the subject. So I am going to play for the Beethovens because that's my team. And of course, I'm going to play music theory. Each game is 5 questions, and this is the lowest level we have right now. Is this note a line or space note? So I'm going to answer a couple of questions correctly. So this is, you get immediate feedback for each question. And remember, 5 questions. So the fireworks, I answered it correctly. Next question. So this is a space note. And we have the waving dog. It's correct. Now I'm going to answer it incorrectly so you can see what happens. So here is a line or a space note. I'm going to say line note. Cheer up. Nice try. Next question. That was number 3. Let's go with space note. Let's see what happens. Confetti. Nice. Immediate feedback. I do like that. And now, line note. All right. So that was 5 questions, and it will give me the level results. You scored 15 points for the Beethovens, and you can choose. It will send you back to the same level. It will not send you to the next level because I didn't answer every question correctly, so I would have to play that level over again. So what shall we do now?
So I'll just go ahead and explain these 3 buttons that they see. So first of all, the play button, this will just make you restart all the way back at the beginning of line and space note. Or you could click on the music theory button and that will take you to a music theory specific leaderboard. Or you can just go to the all leaderboard. Let's go to the music theory leaderboard. So before we dive in on how you can register, I feel like it'd be helpful for me to explain some of the various things around the leaderboard. For instance, you can see here at the bottom that it says medalists determined weekly Friday at midnight UTC. So this is how students can get rewarded with virtual medals. Every Friday at midnight UTC, which is about, um, I don't know what the time frame is, but it's UTC, so you can do your calculations wherever you live. And anyway, you get medals for the top 3 teams. The top team gets the gold medal, second team, the silver medal, third team, the bronze medal. And you can see those are indicated on the leaderboard right here with the gold, silver, and bronze highlights. You can also see down here the number of plays completed. So that is how many games people have attempted across the entirety of the website, how many questions have been answered, and then this just shows how many trees have been saved. If a worksheet has 25 questions on it and there's about 20,000 sheets that a tree can make. So that was the calculation for that.
Shall we register and find out what the experience is like if you register? Let's click on the register button, create a new account. So you just type your email into that box, choose your public name, and for safety, don't use your real name. The public name is displayed when logged in and on leaderboards. So because this website is designed for young children, we want to protect their privacy. We do have the consent here. Choose your password, confirm your password, choose your team, and really you can choose any team at first because you can change that later, and then hit register. All right, shall we talk about how to create a team?
Sure, we can go ahead and do that. So if you really have a really good idea for a team name and you don't see it amongst one of our various teams, as you can see, there's a very long list of them. You can always click on this, which we'll go through these tabs later, but this bottom tab right here that says support, and you can send an email right here to this link at info@ackolympics.com. However, for now, let's just go ahead and log in and we can get you situated with a team at a later date.
Now we've registered and we're logged in. So we're ready to play again. Let's choose our subject. We know it's going to be music theory. Are we playing for the Dolphins today?
Yeah. It's my high school mascot. So.
Now, notice here, somebody has been playing for the Dolphins already and has played through all the levels, and therefore we can choose any level we want. And that is what's going to happen to you. You do need to play through the levels, but once you do, then you can always just go to any level. So what level shall we go to show?
Maybe let's try one of the audio levels to show something different.
How about 2A audio? By the way, the syllabus that we use to create the questions is the Virginia State Theory Test syllabus. And that's what these levels are here, 2A, 1B, 1A. We are up to level 4 currently, and probably need to boost the primer a little and the level 4 a little bit. Now, on the left side, these levels that you see, for instance, with the 2A audio, in Olympic speak, it's actually 3.5. So each level is a game that you pass the game, then you go to the next level. So we're going to go to 2A audio. So we have some recordings. Each question is going to be a recording. The question is this a whole step or a half step? Half step. Confetti. Next question. Is the rhythm of these notes the same or different from the sound? I believe that is different. All right. Next question. Is this melody the same or different from the sound? This time I'm going to answer incorrectly. Oh, the egg goes splat. Nice try. Next question. Is this melody the same or different from the sound? believe that is different. And the dog confirms. And is this the last question? I think it is.
Yes.
Is the interval a major third or perfect fifth? I think that's a major third. I'm correct. Now remember, I missed one question out of 5. Level results, you scored 15 for the Dolphins.
So now this is a little bit different. The only different thing here is that if you click on play, then you'd restart at the level that you tried, not all the way back at the beginning, which is very helpful for students who want to focus in on a very specific range of levels. Now I guess we'll go through and show you what all of the different tabs that you see across the screen mean. So let's start with the top. If you ever get stuck somewhere, you can always click on Olympics and you'll come back to this home page. The next thing is the subjects, and we've already somewhat shown this, but you can go to a subject-specific leaderboard. So for instance, this is the music theory one. And then it automatically selects music theory for you, and you just have to choose the level. The next tab is the medalist tab, and this one shows, it takes a little while to load because it shows for the last 8 weeks, all of the medal winners for every category, and they're alphabetical. So if we go all the way down here to music theory, you'll see the bench winners took the gold for the last 3 weeks. Good job.
I noticed that my team, the Beethovens,
Yes.
did win a couple of weeks.
The next thing at the top here is the About tab. So this gives you a little brief recap of essentially what I've already told you about how I got started on the path of owning Olympics. And then the blog will take you to another website that has blog posts. This one was pretty much one of my previous speeches that I've given. I had some other information, such as this was a more research on math fact fluency that I did for English as a paper. And there's more things like that that you can go there and read inspirational blog posts. Now, down here at the bottom, you'll notice that there's privacy policy. That's pretty much there for legal reasons, so you do not need to worry about that. Now, we're going to go back to the support page really quick, because there is something here that we didn't mention before, and that is that there's this link here that's called group instructions. So we're going to show you this somewhat more complicated resource on Olympics today called the groups feature. And if you ever get confused, you can always go back to this Google document that is a view-only document, but you can still print it out for paper copies so that you can work through problems. And then if you still need help, you can email me at this link. Now, this is just a Patreon thing for my donators to help keep the website funded. Lastly, there's the latest tab. And this latest tab shows all of the most recent accomplishments of the website, such as getting the subject pages, or the group's beta becoming live, or high scores for registered users. It also down here has future plans, and these are just things that we wish to eventually get done over time after many hours of development. So let's go ahead and talk about the groups feature.
As a teacher, I really like this group feature because I can form groups within my studio and I can assign challenges based on the level my students are working at. So let's go to the group feature now.
Okay. So here you see many different groups. So just for testing purposes, we'll go ahead and create a group for this. So let's go ahead and create a group.
Okay.
What do you want to call your group?
Well, the way I've been naming them is to use my studio name abbreviated, and then the level which the students would be working at. So I'm going to start with P for primer or primer. I skipped the section box because that was really developed for public school classes and I don't need that. Subject, of course, I'm going to be music theory now, and I'll save that group.
So now she has a group saved right here, and they are listed alphabetically. So you'll see a few things happen whenever she creates this group. This group as no members as of yet, but a code was generated. So this code is what your students can use to join your group. Do you have any suggestions on how they could get that code to their students?
I could send it to them in an email, or I could write it in their assignment book. Now, the other thing I recommend is for you to join your own group so you can monitor it better. So I think I will join my own group now. And up here, it says join group. Click on that, and there's a place for the code, which I copied. Now I'm going to paste it and hit join. Now you can see I am a member of the group. There it is, PLCP. I still need to create challenges, and let's go over these tabs, shall we?
So what she was saying here with challenges, you can see that there's a 0 by this flag. That means that that the students have not been assigned a challenge to complete yet. So let's go down here and let's look at the different tabs for the teacher. So first of all, there's a little pencil icon here, and it says edit, because what you can do with that is edit the name of the group, the subject of the group, or the section of the group. So I'll just show you what that looks like. You can also add co-owners if you would like. The next thing that you can do is assign challenges, which we'll go over in more depth in just a minute. So I'll hold back on that for now. You also see that there's a members tab. This members tab, while it lists all of your students' names that have joined the group, it will also show the results of them being in that group. Now, this would be easier if we were able to test this all with you live at the conference, but I'll just go ahead and explain it without any visuals. Because it's a very ordered system for how it shows results. It shows them with the amount of times that you've played the game correctly, whatever challenge you assign them. And then it has another number after a slash that says how many times that they tried to play it. So if you were all at a live audience, there would be results shown on the screen and we could go through that. You're going to want to get your student's name so that you know who is playing in your group. For instance, Sparkle Cat, that is us. So we know that that is a member of our group. We'll check back on that later in case if that didn't make any sense. We have the archive icon, which this archive icon, you can archive the group if it's no longer useful, maybe because your students graduated to the next level in music theory. So let's go ahead and now do a challenge.
All right, we're going to create a challenge.
And there we go. So
Okay.
Currently there's no challenges, so there's nothing there.
So I'm clicking on the Create Challenge box tab.
Yes.
And it takes time. There we go. So I'm going to call this challenge Primer. I'll just say Primer. So it's the due date. I'm going to skip that because I don't really have a due date right now. I am choosing music theory. All right, so clicking on this tab, I can see how many games they can play on the primer levels. So there are 5 games. Well, we're going to start with the primer line versus space. And the finish level, what shall we do? Let's just do 3 games. And I do like to keep the games to 5 questions per level, but you could do more if you wanted.
Mm-hmm. So this brings up a good point. And many people ask me, is there like a finite number of questions or are they just always randomly generated? And the answer is that there is a finite number of questions, but there should be at least 20 per each level. Sometimes there's more. In cases of like intervals, there's just simply more intervals, so therefore there are more questions, whereas in audio files, there's less questions because they take more time to create. However, if you set it to something like 100 questions, then it will just give the students as many questions as it can. So let's say a level only has 50 questions, it will give them all 50. Now, I personally don't recommend that because the 5 questions gives the instantaneous feedback that keeps students to continue wanting to play instead of getting frustrated by having to answer 100 questions.
Right.
Anyway, let's go ahead and create.
Okay. I'm creating this challenge at the primer level. There it is.
And there you can see the challenge. You can also see that there's this little edit icon. This is in case, let's say you wanted to change the name of the challenge and or you wanted to change the levels. If you click on the edit button, then it will go back to essentially the exact same page as whenever you're creating the challenge. So let's go play this challenge. Why don't we?
Because I'm a member of my own group, so I can play the challenge. So here's the group I'm in, PLCP, music theory is the subject. Here's the challenge. So I'm going to click on that. And there it is. So it tells exactly what it is. And here's the play button. All right.
So obviously we chose very simple levels with line or space notes. But let's go ahead and play through a game and just see how this affects the members tab.
All right. I'm playing through the game. I'm answering the questions correctly. Should I miss a question or not? What do you think?
I think you should go ahead and miss one question.
Okay, I'll miss
just to show a variety of results.
Okay. So instead of space, I'm going to click on line. Aw, sweet dogs. Nice try. And the next one, line. Let's see what happens here. Confetti. All right, so I answered 5 questions, one of them incorrectly. Let's go to level results.
So you'll notice here again, it's the same 3 options, and you would start back at whatever level your challenge was assigned at. So let's go and check out that members tab that we mentioned earlier for the group owner. So now that challenges have been played, if a group owner clicks on the members tab, which takes a little while to load because it has to find statistics. So you see that Sparkle Cat completed 1 out of 1 attempts. Okay.
Good. So in this way, you can monitor your groups and your individual students and see how many times they are playing their challenges. And then you can assign new challenges when you feel they have played enough, or they can tell you. Okay.
Okay. I think that pretty much has everything that we want to share about the website. If you ever find any questions, or if you ever have any questions, or if you ever find any questions in the games where you feel like they aren't worded correctly or something like that, I just want to point out that you can always send an email to this link on the support tab of info@accolympics.com.
Well, I have a question for you, Karstan.
Yes, what is your question?
What is the most frequently asked question you get?
Wow, that is such a great question. So the most frequently asked question for Accolympics is Accolympics free? Well, whenever I licensed and registered my company, my lawyer suggested that I should create a mission statement. And this mission statement, after some consideration, what I came up with was Accolympics seeks to solidify the skills of learners everywhere while engaging in teamwork throughout the world. Now, notice how I had nothing about trying to retire before the age of 18 or anything. And that is because I want Accolympics to always be free, because people that need resources such as Accolympics the most cannot afford a pay-to-play service. So therefore, Accolympics will always be free for the user. But thankfully, I've got wonderful donors that help cover the costs of Accolympics, such as yourself and also grandparents. We also work tirelessly to find piano scholarships and other forms of funding to keep Accolympics going. Hopefully, we have shown how students' addictions to screens can be utilized for music theory success. Now, before I end, I want to leave you with a quote. This quote being from Simon Sinek that says, "What good is an idea if it remains an idea? Try, experiment, iterate, fail, try again, change the world." Now, I liked what he was saying here, but this sentence always got a little bit wordy for me. In fact, I got very confused, especially when Kaden added in funny little parts like pet your dog, procrastinate a little bit, or even eat some dinner. However, I was able to paraphrase what he was saying into something that motivates me, challenges me, and inspires me. And I hope it does for you too. What good is an idea if it remains an idea? Make a plan, change the world. Now, I could end it right then and there, but there's one last thing that I wish to share with you. That being, thank you. Thank you for all that you do as music theory educators and as teachers in general. Thank you for inspiring students to have confidence in what they're doing and to love what they are doing. We don't tell you often enough how much we appreciate you, especially for putting in all of those extra hours that we can't even begin to imagine. So thank you and have a great rest of your day.